I'm going to step aside so you can have a better look at what's going on here right now. Firefighters are still working on the scene, putting out hot spots. There's no question about it. What's falling right now is snow. Earlier it was sleet. Take a look. This car, this is how much has accumulated over the past hour. There is a closed sign posted, and there's been a chain and a lock on this fence all day long. You can see where half of this tree pretty much broke off early this morning. It landed right on top of this car, smashing the frame. The mother was actually kneeling on the ground next to her tire. She was filling the tire up with air. Tulsa police say a lot of criminals who steal running cars from driveways only need it for transportation. And sometimes police find the car abandoned in a random parking lot shortly after the owner reports it stolen. Look at this pile of wood and what used to be a door to this East Tulsa home. That is until burglars knocked it down. The list of criminal complaints against David Bowman is more than 2 pages long, 25 counts of.
Fox 23's Angela Hong spoke with a woman who says she had a frightening encounter with Knuckles back in March. This is a Fox 23 exclusive.
We are protecting the identity of that victim. She told me this incident happened near this intersection in Bixby. She says she was pulled over by former sheriff's deputy Gerald Knuckles in March. She knew something was weird when he asked her to come over to his SUV behind an open door.
I think about it a lot every day.
What this Bixby woman says happened to her in March is something she will never forget.
I was pulled over that evening. It was late.
She was at this intersection outside of Bixby when then Tulsa County Sheriff's Deputy Gerald Knuckles arrested her for public intoxication. Court documents show Knuckles inappropriately touched the victim and then exposed himself to her. The victim held on to her secret for months. Why did you wait so long to come forward?
I thought that, it was my word against his, and who would believe me?
In September, she gathered the courage to come forward. She had watched Fox 23's report after the sheriff's office held a news conference saying Knuckles had assaulted 2 women.
For him to do it again, it was like, finally, my proof that I can come forward with.
Fox 23 went to Knuckles' home on Wednesday to speak with his fiancée, but nobody answered the door. Henry Blaylock lives next door.
With the security of having a sheriff next door, it kind of gave us a peace of mind, and then a couple of months later, this happens, and all of a sudden he's not the good guy.
The victim hopes her coming forward helps others speak up too.
I feel better. I feel less like a victim now that he's behind bars, and I hope if there are other women, they can come forward, seeing these women come forward.
I spoke with Knuckles' attorney, who told me he could not comment on the case at this time. Knuckles was out on bond on the 2 original sexual battery charges, but he is now back in jail. Reporting in Tulsa County, Angela Hong, Fox 23 News.
Fox 23's Angela Hong found out how these calls can seem legit. Angela?
That's because these phone calls, they're coming from a person who claims they're with the Tulsa Police Department. One victim I talked to said this call was so realistic, she almost fell for the scam.
This is Lieutenant Brian Adams with the Tulsa Police Records and Warrants Division.
There are a few things wrong with this phone call.
I'm just placing a follow-up call for Lieutenant Randall McKenzie.
There's no such thing as a lieutenant with Tulsa Police, and these names are made up.
It terrified me, because he said they were going to arrest me.
West Tulsa resident Deborah Ramirez got this call on Friday and thought it was real.
He said, well, Deborah, did you get a summons for jury duty? And I said, no.
The caller said because the city is going through its warrant amnesty program, the police would not arrest her if she paid.
And he wanted the money that day.
Or else what?
They'd arrest me. They were going to arrest me.
He told Ramirez to go get a PayPal card at CVS and send him $1,600.
When he said PayPal, a light bulb went off in my head, and I thought, this doesn't sound right.
And in the past week, TPD has taken 5 similar reports, all the calls coming from the same phone number.
We ran the number that was on there, and it checked back to a Verizon account in Sperry, Oklahoma.
Fox 23 called the number and got this.
Tulsa Police Records and Warrants Division. We apologize for missing your call.
It still hurts, that they would do this to, I'm just a housewife and a grandmother.
Ramirez says she's glad she didn't fall for it, but she knows.
There's elderly people out there that would go and pay this.
Police say that they would never call you if you missed jury duty. Instead, you would get a call from the court clerk first. And if this person is caught, he faces impersonating a police officer charges. Reporting live in Tulsa, Angela Hong, Fox 23 News. It involves a lawsuit between Bates and a company he used to own. Now, this reporting, it's about an hour and a half long. I listened to the entire thing and I broke it down for you.
Outside of my sheriff stuff, that's about the only exciting thing I do.
Well, that's about as exciting as you need.
A party involved in a lawsuit with Bates secretly made this recording in 2012 at a restaurant over drinks. In it, Bates talked openly about his work at the sheriff's office.
Kind of a thing that I need to go back to scare the shit out of me, to make me feel good about life. I love that. That was just great. And I haven't done a whole lot of it lately, but I'm planning on going back to it.
He then starts talking about how he hasn't paid his attorney, Clark Brewster, for his services.
But you haven't paid him, or is it free?
I haven't paid him yet. Let's say. I mean, he knows I've done some for him at the sheriff's office for some of his clients.
Has Mr. Bates ever pulled a favor for you?
No, nor have I ever asked him.
Brewster says he barely knew Bates in 2012 and at the time didn't know Bates was a reserve deputy. If he didn't do any of this for you, why would he say that?
Well, I don't know, but I think sometimes people have conversations, especially when they're involved in litigation, trying to impress the other side. My lawyer's tougher than your lawyer kind of thing, and I think the talk got a little loose.
Before this new law, lawmakers would have to add every single chemical compound found in K2 onto a list of illegal drugs, and you can see it's pages long. But the problem is drug makers would then just change the ingredients in K2. The new law makes this list less important, and I talked to a former user who thinks it's a good idea too.
I was standing in the shower for 3 hours looking at a drain, looking like blood was coming out of it.
19-year-old Keith Ray remembers distinctly what he saw and felt the first and only time he was high on K2.
I went into a seizure. After I got out of the seizure, I chose never to touch it again.
Keith is glad Oklahoma has a new law going into effect November 1st that makes it easier to arrest or prosecute people who have or sell K2.
We're really looking forward to it and seeing what it can do.
Fox 23 is hiding the identity of this Tulsa police undercover officer. He says the state prosecuted few K2 cases because the ingredients kept changing so that it wouldn't be considered illegal.
And so it was constantly this battle, jumping back and forth and trying to keep up with every single new molecular structure that was coming out.
Here's how a K2 case will be investigated in Tulsa starting in November. Once a police officer collects what looks like K2 from a suspect, that sample is brought here to the Tulsa Police Department's forensic lab. The scientists here then try to figure out what sort of drugs are inside that sample. Let's say the exact chemical compound found in that K2 is not on this list of illegal substances. It can still be considered illegal, though, because the new law broadens the definition of what is K2. Keith thinks this law could help keep K2 off of Tulsa streets and save lives.
Because it is killing people. It is putting people in mental institutions.
Tulsa police aren't waiting to crack down on K2, though. I talked to the forensic lab director who told me they're getting 2 samples of K2 each day from police. Before, it used to be 2 a month. Reporting live, Angela Hong, Fox 23 News.